Hi everyone and welcome. We are doing part 4 of Pathways to Self-Awareness. In part 3, we talked about fear and how to eliminate fear. One of them was self-confidence, and the other one, of course, and most importantly, is a good, healthy self-esteem. Now, fear consumes. Fear zaps our energy. And over time, it controls our physical, mental, emotional, and our spiritual bodies. Fear cancels out love, but love cancels out fear. And fear has a real strong support system, and that is the ego, which is what this video is going to be based on. Now, there's many ways of defining the ego. What I want to address here today with you is how do you define your ego? Because being on the spiritual path, understanding that not only do you have an ego, personality, self, you do have a higher self and a soul, we need to look at what part of the ego still controls us. And remember, being in control or having to be in control stems from fear. So the question is, what does your ego need as a fix? Hey, I told you about mine. It's books. But beyond that, we really have to look and ask ourselves where we still do not control the ego. Because the ego identifies itself on exterior things. We know that. Wayne Dyer defined it beautifully when he said, "Who I am is what I have." The other thing we have to do is to realize that we have to tame the ego. We have to temper the ego, and in doing so, find a happy medium between the two, between the higher self and the ego. And once we do that, we next need to take back control, to understand all the illusions that the ego would have you believe. So let's go ahead now and go a little deeper and talk about the ego versus the higher self. The ego wants us to believe that it is basically a physical body and that there is a soul that lives in the physical body. Now, if that is true, then we know that the ego operates on the 5 senses. And if that is true, and the ego says, I am what I possess, or what I have accomplished, or what I have accumulated, there is an unending cycle of making sure that we look okay. We compare ourselves and even judge ourselves and others, and there is no peace. There is no peace in our existence, and it begs the answer to the second question that I would like to ask today, and has your ego ever been satisfied? And if it has, for how long, right? Until the next iPad came out or the next book came out or what have you. We can answer that all different ways. Now, the other thing the ego believes is in separation. The ego believes that you are separate from everyone else, and that feeds the ego, because the ego always likes to compete, always likes to be one up on everybody. So that separation goes hand in hand with that feeling of becoming egocentric or better than others on that concept. It often seeks others' recognition and validation. I'm looking at my cheat sheet here. All the while that it's looking for that recognition and that validation, when it's so busy focusing on that, it really loses sight of the deeper inner life of the higher self, the soul, where there is nothing but peace of mind, where there is nothing of acceptance, and that we are free from the illusion of separation. So it's wonderful to be in that consciousness, that state, and we obtain that when we're in prayer, when we're in meditation, where we're possibly doing that artwork, that sculpture, singing the song, making love, walking at the beach, feeling the sand under our seats and our feet, and listening to the ocean wave and the birds and feeling the air on our skin. That's when we're all connected and we don't feel separate. We feel so close to and a part of that essence. Next, the ego keeps us trapped in all of these illusions that I just spoke of and brought to our attention by convincing you that you're special. And the culture that we live in thrives and encourages us to be special because you're rewarded for being different, better than, separate. You get acknowledged with that. And the ego certainly thrives on that. But the higher self realizes that first and foremost, you have always been and will always be a sacred being. And that concept of being special is so different in the eyes of God, I believe. The other video that I did on self-esteem, I mentioned an author, Gerald Jambalski, and I had said that he was the founder of the Center of Attitudinal Healing. And there are 12 concepts in attitudinal healing. And one of them is that our essence, and I want to make this right, our essence, our being, is love. So we don't need to strive, because when we know that our essence of being is pure love, we don't have the pressure, we don't have the stress, or do we need to follow what society tells us to obtain specialness, because we already are. And we know that we're much more than that. So understanding the power of knowing our true selves is love. And of course, his book is Teach Only Love. So, our higher self will be acknowledged when we let go of the attachment to and the belief that we are separate and that there is such a thing as special, being special. Separation and specialization. No, we're perfect just the way we are. That's what we need to remember. And then there's no struggle. We're just striving to be more loving. That we're just striving instead to be more who we are and to understand our authentic self. And I guess I should have used the word we are thriving as well on that as we are striving to accomplish that within ourselves. I think it was Jesus who said, to be in the world but not of the world. And how important it is to remember that concept when we're being bombarded with advertisements and being told that you will be happy, or the ego tells you you'll be happy when you get, or you do, or you attain. It's just unending. So, what do you think? What would you like to express? I'd love to have your comments share with me today. And we're going to wrap it up with that. Thanks, everyone. Sending you love and blessings. Bye-bye.